The Constitution. American Era Constitution. The Philippines had a total of 6 constitutions since the proclamation of independence on June 12, 1898. In 1899, the Malolos Constitution, the first Republican constitution in Asia, was drafted and adopted by the First Republic, which lasted from 1899 to 1901. During the American occupation, the Philippines was governed with the laws of the United States of America. Organic Acts were passed by the United States Congress for the administration of the government of the Philippine Islands. The first was the Philippine Organic Act of 1902, which provided for a Philippine Assembly composed of Filipino citizens. The second was the Philippine Autonomy Act of 1916, which included the first pledge of Philippine independence. These laws served as constitutions of the Philippines from 1902 to 1935.
In 1934, the United States Congress passed the Philippine Independence Act, which set the parameters for the creation of a constitution for the Philippines. The act mandated the Philippine legislature to call for an election of delegates to a constitutional convention to draft a constitution for the Philippines. The 1934 Constitutional Convention finished its work on February 8, 1930. The Constitution was submitted to the President of the United States for certification on March 25, 1930. It was in accordance with the Philippine Independence Act of 1934. The 1935 Constitution was ratified by the Filipino people through a national plebiscite on May 14, 1935, and came into full force and effect on November 15, 1935, with the inauguration of the Commonwealth of the Philippines. Among its provisions was that it would remain the Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines once independence was granted on July 4, 1946. In 1940, the 1935 Constitution was amended by the National Assembly of the Philippines. The legislature was changed from a unicameral assembly to a bicameral Congress. The amendment also changed the term limit of the President of the Philippines from 6 years with no re-election to 4 years, with the possibility of being re-elected for a second term.
Japanese era constitution. During World War II, the Japanese-sponsored government nullified the 1935 Constitution and appointed preparatory committee on the Philippine independence to replace it. The 1943 Constitution was used by the Second Republic with Jose P. Laurel as president. Upon the liberation of the Philippines in 1945, the 1935 Constitution came back into effect.
The Constitution remained unaltered until 1947, when the Philippine Congress called for its amendment through Commonwealth Act Number 733 on March 11, 1947. The Parity Amendment gave United States citizens equal rights with Filipino citizens to develop natural resources in the country and operate public utilities. The Constitution thereafter remained the same until the declaration of martial law on September 23, 1972. Before President Marcos declared martial law, a constitutional convention was already in the process of deliberating on amending or revising the 1935 Constitution. They finished their work and submitted it to President Marcos on December 1, 1972. President Marcos submitted it for ratification in early January of 1973, foreseeing that a direct ratification of the Constitution was bound to fail. Marcos issued Presidential Decree Number 86, 1972, creating citizens' assemblies to ratify the new drafted Constitution by means of a viva voice vote in place of secret ballots. Marcos announced that it had been ratified and in full force and effect on January 17, 1973.
All thought the 1973 Constitution had been ratified in this manner. Opposition against it continued with Chief Justice Roberto B. Concepcion. In his dissenting opinion in the case of Javeliana B., Executive Secretary exposed the fraud that happened during the Citizen Assembly ratification of the 1973 Constitution on January 10 to 15, 1973. However, the final decision of this case was that the ratification of 1973 Constitution was valid and was enforced.
When democracy was restored in 1896, President Corazon C. Aquino issued Proclamation Number 3, suspending, suspending certain provisions of the 1973 Constitution and promulgating in its stead a transitory constitution. A month later, President Aquino issued Proclamation Number 9, 1986, which created a constitutional commission tasked with writing a new charter to replace the 1973 Constitution. The commission finished its work at 12:28 a.m. of October 16, 1986. National plebiscite was held on February 2, 1987, ratifying the new constitution.
On February 11, 1987, by virtue of Proclamation Number 58, President Aquino announced the official canvassing of results and the ratification of the draft constitution. The 1987 Constitution finally came into full force and effect that same day with the President. Other civilian officials and members of the armed forces swearing allegiance the new chapter.